Hey there, this is Clay with modernlove.life, and this is the Relationship Inner Game Experience. Now, in this video, we're going to be talking about whether or not it's normal to still love your ex, and if you do still love your ex, is that something that you should be acting on to try to get back together with them, to try to reconcile with them, or to try to be in a relationship with them, okay? So with all of that being said, let's get into this a little bit. So, to begin with, I don't know what your particular situation is right now. I don't know if you and your ex broke up yesterday. I don't know if you and your ex broke up 10 years ago or 20 years ago. I don't know kind of where that timeline is. And I also don't know if you are currently in contact with your ex, if you haven't spoken to your ex in years and you're just thinking about them for some reason or not. But we can get into all of this in this topic here. So, first of all, it's important to realize that you and your ex, you felt a strong degree of attraction for one another. You were probably even in love with each other at some point during your relationship. And that means that that attraction between the two of you is likely going to be with you for your entire lives. Now, granted, you might not feel attracted towards your ex, you might not feel that sense of love towards your ex all the time because of maybe things that happened before in the past, where maybe they betrayed you, maybe they hurt you, maybe they cheated on you, maybe they said something and did the opposite, or maybe they hurt you in some other way. And if that's the case, it's understandable that you might be attracted to them, but you just don't want to be interacting with them or in a relationship with them because you know that the history, the baggage is just in the way, right? And so, again, if you look past all of that baggage, there is that fundamental foundation of this is someone that I'm attracted to. This is probably even somebody that I loved before in the past. And with that understanding, it's very normal. It's very reasonable to actually feel love towards your ex, especially in times when you're able to emotionally let go of that baggage, either temporarily or permanently, and you're able to see them with those eyes that you had when the relationship was really good, when you were most attracted to them, when you were most in love with them. And when you can see them with those eyes through that lens, that is when you can feel a very strong degree of love towards them. And it doesn't matter if the breakup happened, yesterday or decades ago. If you can look at your ex in that way, then yeah, it's understandable that you might feel love towards them. And so it's not abnormal to feel love towards your ex at all. It's not abnormal to be in love with your ex. Now, is this something that you should act on? If you feel love towards your ex, should you stop dating whoever you're dating and try to be in a relationship with them? Should you call them up out of the blue? Should you try to start seeing them again? Should you see if they even are open to being in a relationship with you again? Before we go down that road, it's important to really look at what you want in a relationship, right? Just because you find somebody attractive and even care for them deeply doesn't mean that the two of you can come together and create a great relationship together. You might just have different values. You might just want different things in life. That's what happened between me and my ex. That's why we actually didn't end up working out in the long run, is because we just wanted different things in life. She wanted to, just have a nice sort of humdrum sort of suburban life, and I wanted to do things like travel the world and start businesses and do all kinds of interesting things, and we just weren't very well suited for one another. But that's another story for another time. Anyway, what you want to do is you want to get clear about what you want in a relationship. You want to get clear about the kind of person that you want to be in a relationship with and the kind of relationship that you actually want. Okay, so maybe this requires you to actually sit down with a piece of paper and just write down some ideas, but it's probably going to require some degree of self-reflection, some degree of spending time by yourself and thinking about what's important to you. And this is time that's very well spent, because if you actually have some clarity about what you want for yourself, then you'll know very, very, very easily whether or not this is something that's good for you or not. And next, what you want to do is you want to take a good look at your ex, not clouded by emotional, inebriation or anything like that, but simply just take a good, strong look at your ex. Nice, sober, impartial look at your ex. Can they realistically give you the kind of relationship that you want? Can they realistically be the kind of partner that you want? If you want somebody who's loyal, but they don't have a particularly great track record of being loyal, then they're probably not a good fit for you, right? And it's probably not worth the time to try to go out of your way to save that relationship or to get back together with them. If, on the other hand, you look at your list of things that you want, and it's like, actually my ex does seem to fit this pretty well, then, it might not be a bad idea to give it a shot. It might not be a bad idea to see what might be possible between you and your ex. Now, additionally, you also want to look at where you're at in your own life as well, too. Especially if you and your ex broke up many years ago or something like that. If you find yourself suddenly missing your ex, you might want to look at emotionally what's going on in your life. Are you feeling a sense of nostalgia for something? Are you longing for some sense of security that maybe you don't have right now in your life? Because these are things that might cause us to emotionally and nostalgically look back at certain eras of our lifetime. Maybe that's relationships with previous lovers, or maybe other chapters of our lives when we felt safe and secure, and we might long for those times. We might long to recreate those times. And so before you necessarily say, okay, this is it, I need to get back together with my ex right now, you want to look and see if your motivation is because you actually really want to be in a relationship with them and you want to see what's possible with them and you think it would really be a good idea, or if you're just kind of clinging to some sort of comfort, some sort of familiarity, some sort of emotional sense of security, right? And if that's the case, maybe that's something that you should spend most of your time doing. And then once you're able to create your emotional needs in your own life and you still feel like you want to see what's possible with your ex, then that would be a great time to maybe see what might happen if you go down that road, okay? I hope this gives you a little bit of an idea about whether or not you should try to get back together with your ex if you find yourself still in love with them. And I hope this kind of helps you understand that yes, it's very normal to feel a sense of love for your ex, even if it's been a very long time, even if things didn't end very well between the two of you, okay? So with that being said, let's go ahead and get to the questions that we have this week from our Modern Love Association members who have went and submitted their questions inside the Modern Love Association website. Okay, the first question is from Kelsey. Kelsey writes in and says, "Hi Clay, I ran into my ex 5 months ago while on a date with someone else, only a month after we had romantically connected, but he told me that he didn't have time to date. I was upset with him, and we had a long phone conversation about it, which he told me that he liked me and was attracted to me, but felt things wouldn't work out long term. He asked me to keep in touch with him, and I've been reaching out to him since then via text. We've had 2 phone calls at that time. I also suggested meeting up in August. He agreed to meet up, but asked for a rain check for when he was less busy. He was in a very busy training period for 3 months, and then worked weekends and evenings, and suggested a phone call instead. We had a nice phone chat. I kept in touch via more texts in September and waited until 2 weeks ago to ask him to meet up again. He responded to my messages, emphasizing that he was busy but exhausted, but totally ignored the part about meeting up, even when I asked a second time a few days later. Also, over the past few months, he has had a habit of responding to my first set of texts and even answering questions, but then not continuing the conversation beyond that, even when I ask questions or try to engage. Originally, I thought this was due to his busy schedule, but recently I discovered through Facebook that he is still dating the girl from 5 months ago. So I think that may be the cause for him ignoring my request to meet up, and maybe even his dropping off in texts, though he probably was dating her then when he agreed to meet up in August and had phone calls with me as well. How do I connect with him better given the circumstances? Should I express curiosity about why he is dropping off?" Okay, Kelsey, so it could be true that he was dating this girl at the time that he was having these talks with you from months ago. It could be that they had some sort of issue, they broke up and then got back together or something like that. I mean, I don't know. But the point being, though, is that he is not texting you back right now, at least not in the way that you want him to. Sometimes he does it really slowly, or sometimes he just ghosts you, or something along those lines. And when this happens, there are a couple of things that could be going on. First and foremost is that he could be trying to slow things down. Maybe he is dating this other girl, and so he's trying to slow things down. Another thing is that he feels guilty about trying to interact with you when he's in a relationship with someone else. He doesn't want to lead you on or give you false hope or something like that. But if you look at all of these things that are going on, I think the underlying thread that ties them together is that he is afraid that things are going to get romantic between the two of you. Now, we've talked about this inside the course before, but the friend zone, that's really not something you need to worry about between you and your ex. And so what can be helpful to you is to instead help to put this fear, this concern that he has about ending up in a romantic sort of situation with you, put that aside by simply just putting yourself in the friend zone, just letting him know that, hey, just so you know, I think that it would be best if we were friends with each other right now. I don't want anything romantic to happen to us. I think right now, given where we're at, it's best if we just stay friends for the time being. That way, he can rationalize spending time with you, interacting with you, meeting up with you, or anything like that by saying, oh, well, Kelsey and I, we're just friends, so therefore it's okay for me to spend time with her, therefore it's okay for me to connect with her, therefore it's okay for me to open up and share with her, even though I might be dating somebody else. And in that circumstance, you have some slack to actually build the emotional connection. You have the slack to actually create a positive emotional interaction between you and him so that you can explore what's possible. So I think the best way to go about this is to address this concern that he has about you wanting more than friendship with him, about you, trying to have this hidden agenda of being in a relationship, of getting back together or something like that. And if you can instead focus the point of the interactions that you're having onto simply building a high quality connection, I think that's going to help you out more in the long run. So Kelsey, I hope this helps you out, and please keep us updated on how things go moving forward from here. Our next question is from CJ. CJ says, hi Clay. Thank you for the advice and for giving me credit for the attribution of the crisis point. That really means a lot to me. I believe that I didn't really mention who I was trying to get back together with in the last update, but I'm going after Johanna in this situation. But the advice still applied, so we're good. I restored contact with Johanna and went on our first coffee date this past Friday, the 19th. It was obvious that we were curious about each other and what one another was up to over the past few weeks, so we got a good emotional connection. She said a few things about the breakup and how she hoped it wouldn't damper our plans in the performing arts and the cosplay, and she'd be glad to be able to still be friends. I mentioned I didn't realize how much I missed her smile and glad that we had the opportunity to put things in the past and to move forward from here. I noticed that she didn't receive it like she would when we were emotionally available. I remembered when we were still together, she looked up her sexuality and she fit the demisexual description, which means that she is attracted to those who have a strong emotional connection, which makes the advanced relational skills truly the key to unlocking her emotional block. She's having and getting her back. I got some work to do. Do you think demisexuals would have a better reception to advanced relational skills versus people that are traditionally attracted to physical and then personality traits? Are there more levels of emotional communication that I can utilize to get her to open up more and to build a stronger connection, like talking about fears, dreams, what we want in a relationship, etc.? And how do I bring up topics like that? Johanna is a huge lover of stars and meteor showers, so that looks to be the next date sometime soon. Nice to hear from you again, Clay. CJ. Okay, CJ, so I'm going to be straight up honest with you, and that is that I'm not an expert at demisexuality or anything like that. I did a quick search just to kind of make sure that we were all on the same page about what this means. And apparently it is somebody in between sexual and asexual who feels attraction towards people only after having a close emotional bond. And, assuming that is the correct definition, then I think that the advanced relational skills would be a very effective thing for creating a bond with your ex so that you can really ramp up that attraction between the two of you. And I think that probably is the best way to go. I don't think that it's really necessarily different than people that would be, attracted to somebody in a traditional sense where, they find somebody physically attractive or something like that, and then the emotional connection develops, or vice versa or something like that. But if the main way that she feels attraction is through the emotional connection, then yeah, the advanced relational skills are a very good way to start that and to build that into your bonding with one another. In terms of other levels of emotional connection, I think that really talking about things that you've mentioned here, such as fears and dreams and what you want in a relationship and stuff like that those could all be great things to talk about in your conversations. I might steer clear of what you want in a relationship just because it could come across as, kind of like a loaded question, kind of like you're trying to steer the conversation towards being in a relationship with, me and all that stuff. Oh, look, I happen to be right here. Let's be in a relationship together. I would be a little bit careful of that. But talking about some deep emotional experiences, fears, dreams, hopes, things like that are definitely ways to go when it comes to creating a strong emotional connection. You mentioned that you might take her to go see a meteor shower or to go stargazing, and I think that would be a great idea for time to spend with one another. First of all, assuming the weather's nice where you are, wherever that may be, and it's not too cold, then I think that would be a great circumstance. And you can just look up and you can talk about stars and talk about all kinds of things like, oh, what's life like over there? Or have you ever wished upon a star? Or have you ever done all this stuff before? And it can be a great conversation starter, and it can be a great way to build a strong emotional connection with one another. There's so many different ways that you can take that kind of interaction. I think it would be highly valuable. And so I think that's definitely a very good way to go. So I would definitely think about that and still, as always, focus on having high-quality emotional connections. That's what's really going to bring the two of you closer together. Okay, so I hope that helps you out, and please keep us updated on how all of that goes. Okay, the next question is from Paul. Paul says, "Hi, Clay and members. I would like advice as to what stage of reactance my ex-wife is likely at. We broke up over several huge arguments. My business was under stress, and she took off for an overseas vacation. We've been separated 1 month following her return from her vacation. I'm coming out of active no contact. She'll respond to phone calls over some functional issues such as bills that we have to pay, spousal support, family events, etc. But her communication involving emotional connections is limited. She rang me a couple of weeks ago warmly, enthusiastically, and tentatively. I responded politely and briefly because I was trying to pursue ANC. A few days later, at our son's wedding, she was more withdrawn. She did compliment me on the wedding speech I gave. Recently, her texts have been limited to okay, and on my birthday, she did not send a happy birthday wish. She has been surrounded by her relatives to help her during this time, but she will be alone from now on. I will not contact her for a week, and I'm wondering what her level of reactance is and what I'm facing. In the meantime, I rewatch your videos on advanced relational skills. Thank you in advance. Paul from Gold Coast, Australia." Okay, Paul, so when you're getting these one-word responses and you're having these interactions that are not taking place on much of an emotional level, that is typically the test drive stage, because your ex is willing to interact with you and she is willing to talk to you, but she's not willing to really invest much in the interaction. So there is a small amount of investment because, she's willing to engage with you, but there's no real personality in there. It's just like, okay, hey, just so you know, we have to deal with this, bill, whatever, coming up. Or how do you want to handle this totally pragmatic, logistical thing that we have to deal with together? And so what you want to do is you want to try to steer these conversations towards the emotional level. You want to try to steer them into emotional territory. So, you might be having a conversation about, I don't know, like a bill or something like that. And you could easily just bring up some memory of like, hey, did you remember the time that we accidentally ran up this bill for, I don't know, like $100 or $1,000 or something like that because I don't know, whatever. I mean, it's just an example, like just as a personal example from my life. I moved to a different state when I was 25 years old to go to graduate school, and I didn't realize this, but my cell phone plan only was for the state that I lived in, Washington State, and when I got to Arizona, I was calling up my mom and my friends and stuff like that, like pretty much every day as I was moving and adapting to life over there and everything. And so after a month, I got this bill for $1,000 for my phone bill. And I was like, oh, what do I do, right? What do I do about the $1,000 phone bill? And, I had to like stop talking to my friends and my parents and everything like that until I figured everything out. And so, if you just brought up something like, hey, remember that time that we had some kind of crazy bill? Or, if you just somehow segue it to something kind of related to what you're talking about, but it has some kind of emotional undertone in it, but still not super ultra over invested, I think that's a great way to start to probe her to open up more in an emotional context. Plus, you're being vulnerable, you're willing to share yourself, and so that can really help to show her that you're committed to the interaction as well too, and it can help to show her that you as well are going to stick around if she does decide to open up, and she's not going to be some sort of bag holder sitting there like sharing her heart out to you and everything, and then you just walk away and leave her, and then she just feels kind of silly for doing all of that. So that's probably what I would do if I were you in that particular situation. So I hope that helps you out, and keep us updated on how things go moving forward. Okay, the next question is from May. May says, Hola Clay, switching it up a bit for you. You've often reminded us that we have to accept our ex as they are. Unless he is in a relationship, my ex is generally quite guarded. I know this about him and can work with this because I love him as he is. To me, this is a matter of focusing on positive interactions to improve his willingness to connect, given that we are no longer in a relationship. The complication is the situation that he is in. He has taken up a job that is stressful and exhausting. He doesn't have time to sleep and eat properly, let alone do the things that he likes to meet people socially. I imagine this will gradually wear him down, even though he is an extremely resilient person. In this context, I appreciate it when he responds to my texts. There are not usually immediate or lengthy replies, but I can understand given the job situation. This does make it difficult to have a deeper conversation, though. If we are to read this as the situation resulting in him being unable to connect significantly due to his unwillingness to contact at this stage, is the implication that he is trying to connect with advanced relational skills futile right now? That is, I can only try to connect if and when his situation changes, which may never happen. He's my 5x5 guy, he is in the test drive, and I am at the crossroads. The implication and what I would recommend you keep in mind as you're in this situation is that he does not have the capacity to connect with you in the way that you want him to right now. Okay, so in a certain respect, he is a little bit emotionally unavailable. There's a spectrum of emotional unavailability or availability. It's not as if it's like a binary thing, like you're 100% emotionally unavailable or you're 100% emotionally available. It's not like that. There's a spectrum. And because of his situation with work, where apparently he doesn't even have enough time to sleep or take care of himself, he doesn't have the emotional availability to be present with you in the way that maybe he would like, or especially in the way that you would like. And so you have to accept him as he is at this point in time, as a somewhat emotionally unavailable person, okay? Given that, you have to say, okay, is this something that I can deal with? Can I accept being in a relationship or dating or interacting with or being attracted to or being interested in somebody who is emotionally unavailable? If the answer is no, then you're probably going to have to come to the realization that he's just not your 5x5 guy. He might be great in many respects, but if he's just not emotionally available, then you're just going to have to say, okay, well, he doesn't have the ability to give me something that I want right now, something that's very important, which is emotional connection and all of that. If this is something you're willing to deal with, then you're just going to have to deal with whatever he is able to give you until such a time comes, if and when such a time comes, that his circumstances change and he actually is able to give you the emotional connection that you want. But you have to accept him right now as the person that he is, because he might never change. He might stay in this career, for the rest of his working life until he decides to retire or something. He might be emotionally unavailable for decades even. And if that's something that you're not okay with, then it's best to cut your losses now before you spend months, years, or even longer trying to make something work with somebody who might not be able to give you something that you want. So that's really what I mean by accept somebody as they are. You have to be willing to be in a relationship with the person as they are right now. If you're not able to do that, then it's best to cut your losses and to find space in your life to welcome somebody who you can be in a relationship with right now as they are. So I hope that helps you out, May, and please keep us updated on how things are going and what you want to do moving forward from here. Okay, and our next question is from Claire. Claire says, "Hi, Clay. Thank you for answering my questions. My ex and I have been having lots of positive interactions recently. I took your advice when we studied together. I insert some emotional connection-y conversations in, and it's been going great. However, as our connection grows, so is her connection with the new girl, who I'm not sure is a rebound. She spends most nights at this girl's dorm, even though it makes her miss class, and posts pictures of the two of them going to sleep and waking up together. Last night, she went to this girl's dorm right after my ex and I studied together, but she never mentions the girl when we hang out. I put myself in the friend zone, and it's been going well. I'm worried about this other girl, especially because my ex doesn't know that I still have feelings for her. Should I just keep doing what I've been doing, or is there something else that I can do that our connection becomes stronger than the one that she has with the other girl? And do you know what stage that she is in?" Honestly, just from what you've written here, I can't really tell you what stage that she's in. I think we'd have to have more of a conversation about, what the interactions between the two of you are like. But just when it comes to the connection between you and her, I want to make sure that you're flirting with her in a certain sort of way while you are having these study meetups. Because when I tell people to put themselves in the friend zone, they often act like a platonic friend. And when you act like a platonic friend, that's when some bad things start to happen. That's when the polarity starts to fizzle. That's when things really start to nosedive. And what I want to make sure that you're doing is that you are actually, you're putting yourself in the friend zone, but you're still not behaving the way that a friend would. You're still flirting. You're still ramping up the attraction and all of that stuff, in addition to connecting on the emotional level. Okay, so if you follow the advice that we give you inside of ESP in terms of the relate reward cycles and stuff like that, that's a great way that you can flirt if that's something that you're not particularly well versed in. I know that flirting can be a very personal thing and that a lot of people have different ways of doing it. But the way that we talk about it inside of ESP is a great way to go about starting to flirt with somebody. So I'd definitely go ahead and check that out and definitely review that and maybe even try that out next time you are interacting with her, because I want to make sure that there is still that sexual tension between the two of you, because that is going to be necessary if the two of you are going to explore some sort of romantic connection between the two of you, okay? Now, I also want you to understand that she's always going to see you through that romantic lens. You don't have to worry about you actually ending up in the friend zone, but if she does see you through the romantic lens, but you're not acting on it in any way, then that's going to be kind of weird for her, okay? It's going to be kind of weird, and she's going to start to think that something strange is happening, like maybe you're suppressing the attraction that you have for her or something along those lines, and that's when covert contracts and stuff like that can come into play. So what I would really do is I would just casually in a sort of lighthearted sort of way flirt with her in a way that communicates through the emotional experience that you are not in the friend zone, but you're still telling her logical mind that the two of you can be friends, so that you have that context to create an emotional connection, and so that the two of you can explore what the two of you might be to one another. Okay, so I hope that helps you out, Claire, and please keep us updated on how things go moving forward from here. Okay, so those have been our questions for this week. Once again, if you want some additional help with your relationship, with your dating, with your love life, please head on over to our website, relationshipinnergame.com. You can go ahead and just fill out a short, painless little, 30-second survey that just lets me know a little bit more about where you're at, what's going on. If you're interested in men, if you're interested in women, if you're single, if you're in a relationship, just basic stuff like that. And once we know a little bit more about you, we'll be able to give you some advice, tips, and strategies that are tailored to the outcome that you want. Just go ahead and head over to relationshipinnergame.com and you can go ahead and sign up. But with that being said, this has been Clay with modernlove.life and relationshipinnergame.com, and this has been the Relationship Inner Game Experience. If you have liked this session, please go ahead and give us a thumbs up on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe to us so you do not miss any future episodes. We put out about one a week. And please go ahead and leave a comment down below letting me know what you think. Anyway, I will talk to you again next week. Please take care.